Hi everybody, this is Chloe Hudson with World Peace Projects. Thank you for joining me. So today I want to talk about a topic that's probably quite personal and sensitive to many people. And it is a topic of euthanizing animals or pets. I'm bringing up this topic because I tend to find myself, every few months lately in a situation where an animal who is an elder, a pet, usually a dog, is at a point in their life cycle that they're ready to leave. They are in a space in their physical body where they're in a lot of pain, physically, usually emotionally. They're just tired, like it probably happens often to elders. They're at a place where they've made peace with their life and they're ready to go. And because I can communicate and hear the animals, they often tell me. It's not that it's different with me that they tell me because I can communicate. They actually tell everybody. They tell everybody often, though not everybody can hear it. Not everybody's tuned into their communication or channeling. Or if it's heard by a human, maybe they dismiss it because they're not used to telepathy. Or it's a painful topic that they wouldn't want to accept as a truth because it's very difficult for us to let go of those that we love often, especially if we don't have a very clear understanding of the other side. So the animals have a different type of consciousness than humans. Animals have a unity consciousness ingrained to their being from birth. Animals are tuned into telepathy, obviously, and they work more as a group consciousness. So there are certain innate universal truths that animals accept unwaveringly that is very different for humans. And one of these truths, on the most part, at least in every experience I've ever had with communicating with animals, is they have an understanding innately that the vessel that they're in, their physical body, is a limited vessel. It's a tool that they've enjoyed. They're very grateful for the most part if they've had loving lives, to be present, to be able to experience their loved ones. They're very happy to serve their humans and make friends. And when their vessel is done and they're no longer comfortable in their body, usually they're ready to go. Now, the only times I've experienced when animals are in severe pain and it's time for them, or rather should I say their body is showing signs of degradation, and so the spirit would be much more relieved, at least in a physical, painful way, to let go and cross over. Though the reason an animal might not want to do that is because of very strong attachments and cording to their human. Especially dogs. Dogs come in as earth angels and they martyr energetically. Dogs continuously take on and intentionally effort to withdraw their human's pain body, energetic, emotional upsets, and they usually absorb it into their body by default, and very often they don't know how to clear it or let it go. So this type of situation is when a dog is so overly martyring and devout to their human, this fealty and loyalty, that they don't want to leave this plane. Though for the most part, when it comes time for an animal to pass on, to cross over, they're very happy to accept that next stage in their experience, their life, just on the other side. And obviously they communicate through telepathy, so they cannot verbally express to you until it gets very painful, and then they may use their noise, their bark, their meow, their neigh, whatever animal it is, to show you that they're in pain. Though because of their more nonverbal way of communication, it takes a bit more sensitivity for the humans around them to become aware of how much pain that they're in. Animals are very good at masking their pain body. Uptakes in pain for animals is often much more panting. they have less energy. They obviously become stiffer and more brittle with their bones. They maybe become more grumpy, because when anyone is in pain, it's much more difficult to be happy and to be cheerful. They're not as active. They don't eat as much. They're not drinking as much. They wince and have difficulty when it goes to when they go to use the restroom. Things like this, it's very important to take notice when an animal is ready to let go of their physical vessel. And most often, it can be very difficult for a human to make the decision to take action steps to euthanize an animal. This could deem from anywhere from not wanting to let go of somebody that we love, not wanting to believe or accept that they're actually in as much pain and is ready to go as they are, or it could be religious views that euthanizing is immoral, whatever it may be. Though for many millennia, especially in the days of Lemuria, it was a very common and appreciated practice to allow physical beings out of their vessel when the pain became too much. Animals would seek out the humans that would take steps to do that. And since in those time periods they had telepathic communication, the animal would relay to the human, "I'm ready to go, thank you." And they would have a beautiful ritual around the experience. All loved ones would be there and come and celebrate their life and help see them off into the next life experience for their spirit and their soul. So I want to convey this to humans because I think it's really important to have some form of allowance of maybe, even if you don't have a perspective on the afterlife, even if maybe you don't understand that the plane of bliss, or what humans call heaven, is a very real energetic space that animals are very happy to go to. And they get stuck in their body for much longer, usually, than they would prefer. So it is an extreme act of benevolent service when you begin to tune in or intuit that possibly your pet is ready to cross. It's important to look at those intuitions, those hits, those thoughts. Maybe this animal is in a lot more pain than I want to accept. Maybe they're ready to go. While it's tough for us to let go, ultimately it can come down to a decision where holding on to them, while we may not want to think of it this way, can be very selfish and often puts the animal through a certain amount, it could be years, of excruciating pain needlessly because they're ready to leave their body. I don't say this as a blame or a judgment. It's something that I have experienced often with animals. There have been several situations that I've been in where animals have begged me to convince their human to let them go. And that's a very difficult situation for somebody to be in, to have to communicate, because people tend to think of their pets quite often as their possessions. Sometimes I've witnessed that parents do this with their children too. Not everybody appreciates an outsider coming in and saying, "Oh, you should do this, you should do that," especially when it's something as intimate and as personal as one of their closest loved ones. Though, as somebody who can hear both sides, what do you do when the animal who is voicing and is a sentient being has just as much rights, in my opinion, as a human, and deserves utmost respect as I would treat any other human? I would like to bestow that onto the animals as well, and the plants. And when the animal comes to me and says, "Please help them understand, I need to go, I'm in pain, it's okay, it's time to let go," it's a very uncomfortable situation to have to turn to a human and express that. And I usually do is as much as possible in a gentle way. Though sometimes I've been put in situations where the people are very close to me and maybe I'm staying with them or in their vicinity and I'm with this animal constantly. So I will care for the animal much more in a way that might make the human feel uncomfortable, because they're like, "Oh, she's taking on more of a caretaking role, and it makes me feel like maybe I'm not doing enough." Or if the animal is begging, 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 and I'm telling them, I've told your human what, you know, and I tried to explain to the animal, I understand where you're at, and if it were up to me, it would have, this would be done. We would have had your ritual and you would have crossed over, and I will come visit you in astral space. Though if I continue to tell your human this, they are getting very upset. It's a very difficult situation. So I just want to convey this message out to people in hopes that if it's something that maybe you've had this experience in your life, or your animal, your beloved pet, is getting up there in their years, and you know they're in pain, and you're doing what you can. You've taken them to the vet. Maybe they're on their pain medication. Maybe they, any ways to make them comfortable. But I implore you to maybe tune into your intuition a little bit more and think about, if you're aware that they're in pain already, that they're nonverbal. Every experience I've ever had, with pain with animals, if the human is witness to their pain, then their pain level is exponentially higher than the human assumes. Because when an animal gets to the point in pain where you can physically see it, they've been in pain, in a significant percentage of pain, for probably much longer and a much higher pain percentage than you're aware of, because they usually do not show much signs of pain when they start to have a bit of discomfort. When animals start to show it, in my experience, and obviously I'm not a veterinarian, their pain experience is very high at that point. And again, they are happy to cross over. And there are some beautiful rituals that you can have with your animal, and they will be happy, elated to come visit you and show you, once they've crossed, their joy and appreciation for you making that decision and helping them release this vessel, because they often get trapped in the vessel. Animals seem to have a much more difficult time letting go of their vessel through soul contracts than humans do. In my experience, humans have a much more steadfast ability through their free will and their decisions through their soul contracts to let go of this corporeal body. Animals can often get trapped for years and years. So I just want to put this out there and kind of express to everybody, if this is a situation that you're in, maybe you haven't been thinking about, but you notice that your animal is in a bit of discomfort, or there's those people around you who you've been thinking on this, or maybe you feel an animal has been reaching out to talk to you, they have a lot to say. And they often are very happy to come forward and have the opportunity to express to each individual in their family how they're feeling about them, where they're at, and what they want them to know as they're wrapping up their life cycle. And they have a lot of appreciation, and they will usually be very happy to come visit you in their astral form once you've helped them release out of their physical vessel and show you their appreciation. And they're very forgiving. So I hope that this taps into your heart spaces, and it gives some voice to those that maybe don't have the ability to communicate to humans as easily as maybe a human to a human does. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you're well. Blessings.